Welcome to this very section. We are looking at rites and rituals, particularly with reference to festivals. I've been talking about rites and then rituals as celebration, worship celebration, traditional African society. So, understanding of worship in traditional African society is embedded in rite performances or ritual performances because worship is a way that Africans seek to externalize their relationship with the Supreme Being, and they do that through various forms of performances. The performances take the shape of sacrifices and offerings, which is accompanied by singing, dancing, and among others. And so, having established that grounds, we want to understand further what rites and then rituals are referring to. When we talk about rites and rituals in Africa, we are referring some way somehow to the same thing, because they all are built on offerings and then sacrifices, and they make use of all the elements that I have mentioned in worship, or when it comes to the sense of worship in among the traditional African folks. So, having said that, rites and then rituals have to do with practices, customs, and ceremonies of the traditional African folks. So we have the rites. So there are two things, elements that we are referring to here. When we refer to the rite, we are talking about the rites of the passages, and then two, we are referring to the communal rites. So we'll look at each of them in turns. The rites of passages deal with the human life cycle, which marks the beginning to the end of the human life. So the beginning refers to the birth of every human, and then the end that refers to the death of the humans within the African traditional society. So all of these stages are marked with celebrations. They are marked with sacrifices and offerings, accompanied by dancing, accompanied by music, singing, drumming, and etc. And again, accompanied by prayer, invocation, initiations. You have all of these elements, and they are relevant when we refer to either rite or rituals. Examples is what I have mentioned: the birth, the puberty, the initiations, the marriage, the purification, the aging, and death. But when we talk about communal rite, then we are talking about the pattern of behavior of an individual or group of individuals within a community, right? The pattern of behavior of an individual or group of individuals within the community. And this is demonstrated through festivals of festival rites. So while rite of passages are performed to move people smoothly through the stages of life, from the beginning to the end, communal rites such as festivals, they are performed in appropriate circumstances to follow strict prescribed patterns. If you have had a chance to participate in any festival in any traditional African community, and let me come particularly to the Ghanaian community, you realize that the way a particular festival is celebrated, the trend remains the same, either from week to week, from month to month, or from year to year. The way a particular festival was celebrated a year ago, if it is celebrated again this very year, there are a kind of order instituted. Those same orders will be followed. those practices will be followed. So that is why I am saying they follow strict prescribed patterns. You do not shift, you do not change. If they celebrated it in a particular month, it will always be celebrated in that month. If certain requirements were needed of the indigents, anytime it is celebrated, those requirements will be demanded. Talk of the ban on drumming when it comes to the celebration of Homowar among the guns. The celebration of Homowar among the guns. Think about it, or talk about it, or refer to it, or look at it, or if you have had the witness of it before. It is always preceded by the ban on drumming, and it is done on a year. Every year it is done. Any year to be celebrated, it will be done. So it follows that prescribed pattern, which is very strict, and everyone within that community have to follow that. So this is the dividing line when we talk about rites and the rituals. Rites have to do with moving people forward or initiating them into other stages of life, either from life to death or from life to life. So it is a transition within a transitional marker in the life cycle of every individual or within the society or for the individuals within the particular community. All right. So during the period of festivals, traditional folks in Africa display their belief by worshiping the Supreme Being. They display that, they show that they believe in the Supreme Being. Right. So they display that belief, which is again seen through their performances of rites and rituals. Number 2, they do reverence to superhuman beings. When we talk about superhuman beings, they are talking about beings beyond this earth realm of life. They do not live within the earth realm of life. As we live with bodies, they do not have bodies. These include ancestors, because ancestors are dead people whose spirits they believe have moved on into a different realm to assume another element of power. So to live within the immediate environment of the living, so they can interact, can have interaction with the living. They are the people who are the closest. They are the superhumans that are more closer to the experiencing community, to the living community. They have the immediate feelings. They know, they understand, because they have been there before. They have also been within the earth realm of reality, the living realm. They have been there before dying and passing on into the spirit realm. So they are the ancestors. And these ancestors, as I mentioned in our earlier discussions, or in our very first discussion, I made mention of the belief of the Africans strongly holding on to ancestors. The ancestors are real, right? And then these superhumans also include the deities, the gods, the idols that they worship, the powerful beings that the traditional African folks believe that interfere with their situations or represent their affairs before the Supreme Being, because they are regarded as creations of the Supreme Being. So he created them and acted and gave them delegated power to act on his behalf in his absence. So though the African folks believe that the Supreme Being is there, he exists, he is alive and active, he is not much active in their personal case. So they cannot directly have any kind of interactions or religious intercourse with him. So they will want to worship him through other means, through his first creations, who helped him created everything, including human beings. So he delegated power to act on his absence. These are the gods So every traditional community in Africa, there are these gods, there are these prominent beings that the people so believe in, and they pacify, they worship, they offer sacrifices to, they call upon in times of danger, in times of war, in times of famine, in times of drought. They will sacrifice to receive a recourse of a recourse to their succor, to their needs. And then the third thing they display is paying due respect to their fellow human beings or their fellow humans. So during festivities, these three elements are seen as a display in their belief systems. They believe that the supreme being is there, and they display that. They believe that the deities are there, the ancestors are there, the spirit entities that inhabit water bodies, that inhabit trees, powerful trees, or mountains, or famous stones. They are there, and so they reverence all of these. And then again, they gather for fellowship. They gather for fellowship. The effectiveness of the ritual art is marked with prayer. As I've said earlier, the prayer is part of the worship element, or the element in the worship systems of traditional folks. And so they do not play with it. So when it comes to the ritual art, prayers are said. And the prayers from culture to culture, they are displayed at various levels, which involves the pouring of libation. And the pouring of libation too, first of all, it is done by drawing the attention of the Supreme Being or calling on the Supreme Being. Then, because he is not there to receive directly, they will offer it through the deities, and they will mention the deities and then the ancestors that have died, or in one way or the other have made some kind of sacrifices for the community. They have laid their lives down for the communities. They have helped the communities in one way or the other. They are called on, and then the celebration continue as it needs to be done. So the effectiveness of the ritual art is what I've just said, is marked. Okay, it's marked with prayer, invocation of blessings, and then curses, and singing, and dancing. So when you talk about the invocation of blessing, you may have the traditional priest pronouncing blessings on the community and curses upon some form of social deviant acts. Okay, and then against the enemies of the particular community, or the enemies of the descendants or the indigenes of the town, some invocation of curses are done to show the prominency of the traditional folks, their blessing, their allegiance to the particular god, and the god's ability to protect the indigene. So the curses of that god are invoked against the enemies of the indigenes, against the enemies of the community, of the town, of the group, if it is the Asante group or the Kwewu group or the Fanti group. Some invocations are done. So it is very important to understand these elements as they are participate, as they are used, or as they are employed in their participation or the ritual participation. Okay. And then they sing, and then they dance. As I've told you, dancing, singing, drumming, they are the element that accompanied every ceremony. And rituals and rites are all ceremonies in the traditional folk, the understanding of the traditional folk. So to confirm their relationship with the supreme beings, superhuman beings, and humanity, the traditional people offer sacrifices and offerings. So the sacrifices and the offerings that they offer, that they give during the ritual performances or the rite performances, but especially during the ritual performances, that is the communal rite. And the communal rite referring to the festivals. So those sacrifices and then the offerings that are given, they are meant to mend a certain kind of relationship. And the relationship is either with the supreme being or with the superhuman beings. When we talk about the superhuman beings, I think I have mentioned them. So they include the deities, they include the spirit entities, then they include the ancestors. So the sacrifices and then the offerings that are given, that is the purpose, to mend relationship, to reconnect broken relationship, to reconfirm the relationship of the family with those entities. That, hey, we have not left you, we still remember you, we are yours. That is what they do. The traditional folk would do that to symbolize their relationship, their eternal relationship with those deities. And then some other times it is to bring fellow feeling, that is solidarity between the African folks. They should have that kind of fellow feeling. So sacrifices and offerings are also given to install that, to install relationship between the people, between the indigenes, to bring them together, either for developmental agendas or for any kind of offenses between fellow humans to be settled, between brothers, between clans, between families, or among the people within the larger community. So the rituals actually, when they are offered, they underline the community celebration. The rituals mostly underline community celebrations and festivals for the purpose of one, thanksgiving. So when rituals are given or are done, or the ritual acts are performed, the key purpose is that they are meant to be a form of thanksgiving. And if it's a form of thanksgiving, to who? Is it to the supreme being, to the deities, to the superhuman beings, or as a means of restoring broken relationship? Or number two, they also involved purification. Okay, purification. So the moment you talk about rituals, performances within the festival occasion, the purpose is either to offer, to purify the land, to purify the people, to purify the stools, whatever. So purification purposes are disclosed. The first one, thanksgiving, purification. The third one is communion. So anytime there are ritual acts being called for, you'll find one or two or all of these three elements in place or disclosed. The motive for the ritual performance is to strengthen the link between humans and the superhumans. That is the motive. To strengthen their relationship, to strengthen the link. So the link between the humans within the community. So there are some festivals that are celebrated in Ghana. That is the purpose, to strengthen the link between the brotherhood, between the indigenes. So whether they travel abroad or they are living in other cities of the country, or living in other cities within the African diaspora, yes, they try to bring and re-strengthen that relationship. That's why during festival celebrations, you will have people traveling from wherever they are to go to their hometown and be part of that occasion, because they try to bring themselves together, to mend themselves, to re-strengthen their bonds with one another, their bonds with their families, their bonds with the deities that are known within the community. So I have included in the list a number example of festivals and the purposes of those festivals, to whom those festivals are celebrated in honor. Because I told you earlier that during the festival rite or performance of festival rite or communal rite in the form of festivals, the folks display their belief in the supreme being, the superhuman beings, or in paying due respect to their fellow humans. So in every festival, either one, two, or all of these are present. Let's take, for example, the Enchijo in the Enchijo festival, which is celebrated by the Esumeja people in the Ashanti region. What is that? The first is a festival of chiefs and people, which comes off in the month of March every year. The festival is meant to unite peoples of the Ashanti descent. It is meant to unite them. And the ancestral linkages and roots are also visited. So the the contributions made by ancestors, or the great ancestors of the Asumeja people who had died and founded the town. They tried to establish a linkage with them, and they visit the places they lived, the shrines probably they maintained or built, their first indigenous homes, their settlement places. They visit those places to pour libation or offer, or try to offer offering in order to mend their relationship or to re-strengthen their relationship with these ancestors. The places they passed, though, passed through all of those routes. The places they sat with family members or in their courthouses, they visited all of those places in order to show reverence and again to strengthen their relationship with the founders of that particular community or etc. We also have a festival called the Adai Kessie Festival. The Adai Kessie Festival is celebrated by the people of Kumasi in the Ashanti region. So the Asanteman Traditional Council is in charge of this Adai Kessie Festival. And the biggest Adai Festival in Ashanti is the 9th Adai of the year. So in every year, they celebrate the Adai Festival. And then the 9th one in the year is the biggest celebration among the Kumasi people. The Adai Kessie, which previously fell on the first Sunday of October, now is subject to change. Previously, the Adai Kessie comes off on the first Sunday of every October. But this time, they have a subject to change. It can fall on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, whichever day it falls on, it is celebrated. The festival is celebrated in remembrance of their past leaders. When you're talking about the past leaders, they are talking about the chiefs, the great heroic chiefs that have lived and then displayed their love, protection, and founded Ashanti Kingdom. They are actually celebrated. They are remembered. Even though they are dead, they are considered to be spiritually alive, and they take interest in the affairs of the living. That is why they celebrate it and remember them. So that Adai Kessie is actually for the remembrance of the chiefs, the dead chiefs, or the powerful ancestors that have once lived. That is the time to remember them. And each family also remembers their ancestors, and people who have helped build or who were deemed as the foundation of the particular clan, they are remembered very well during that particular period. Even though they are dead, they are spiritually alive. And people will share testimonies of having seen this person, and then the older ones that have lived and knew these people, some of these people had first-hand experiences with them. When they give the description, they will mention the name. Yes, it is this person, it is that person, it is this chief, it is that king, it is that elder, it is that clan head, and etc. They are able to tell who those people actually are as a result of the kind of first-hand experiences that they had with such people, or they lived and they saw them, they lived among them, they actually heard them speak, they knew their behavior. And sometimes this is also by means of extra sensory knowledge through spiritism and etc. They are told specifically this person is the one displaying or the one that has come. So there are two main Adai festival within 40 days. Two main Adai festival within 40 days. So within each 40 days, an Adai festival will be celebrated. But there are two Adai festivals that are celebrated. The Wednesday Adai is called the Awukudai, and then the Sunday Adai is called the Akusidai. which are separated by 17 days. During the festival, the kings of Ashanti worship the ancestral stools and skeletons of the past kings, which are preserved at the sacred mausoleum at Bantama. That is where they go to worship. So the Asantehene does that. And do not forget, the Asantehene is seen as the priest of the Asante kingdom. He's both the priest and then the king. He's the priest because he serves as the link between the living and then the dead. So if the dead want to have contact with the Asante kingdom, they will communicate that, or they will live that experience through him. So it is believed that his lifestyle or whatever he say is sacred because the powerful ancestors speak through him. That is why the Ashanti king is revered the most. Is I think the king that is revered the most in Ghana, probably in the whole of Africa, West Africa or Africa, and is renowned for that because of his position. Not only him, but all kings, all chiefs in traditional Ghanaian or African or West African traditional cultures, they serve as link. They are also regarded as the custodians of the customs. So when we are talking about traditional religion, there are three types of religion, major religion in Africa or Ghana, and there is some mention Christianity, Islam, and then you are talking about traditional religion. Where are you going to find the members of the traditional African religion? Where are they? Where are you going to find them? Who identify himself as a traditional African religionist? It's nobody. So the first people they will see are the kings or the chiefs. They are the custodians of the cultures. And who do they rule over? They are African, the indigens. And who are these indigens? They are still Christians and they are also what? Muslims. They subscribe to these people. So I've always maintained the position that in traditional African religion, you don't choose to be a member. You are born into it. It's your experiential background. That is where you are coming from. That is why all traditional communities in Ghana revere their chiefs more and even more than the political president in power that is voted for and will leave or will have to seek for re-election in 4 years or 8 years. And even in some African countries, he tried to rule for life. But whatever the case, they are not recognized. They are not revered as much as the chiefs and then the kings because of the position the chiefs and the kings hold in the historical experience of the traditional African people or of the Ghanaian people, if we should be specific. Let me give another example of another festival. So I will give you the list. I think I've sent you the list. Yes, I've already sent you the list of 20 festivals. But we don't have 20 festivals celebrated in Ghana. We have more than 150 festivals celebrated in Ghana each year. But then I'm just giving you, for our academic purposes, you need just a few, and the rest you can delve into it, learn a lot more, and see how this is done. But there's something that I left out. I think let me go back to it. When it comes to the Enchijo festival, the key elements are two. It's a festival that is celebrated to restore relationship between the people of the Esumeja and their ancestors. And then the second one is with their fellows. So this festival is a purification festival. And it is a communal festival. So it is both purification and then communal. Then the Adai Kessie festival is also celebrated in honor of the departed, the ancestors. So it is both a purification festival and a communal festival. It's not a festival to give thanks to the Supreme Being. It is a festival to purify the stools of the departed. It is the festival celebrated to bring the people together. So it's a communal festival and it is a purification festival. And the objects of concentration are the superhumans, that is the ancestors. So let's look at any other one that will deal with the people or deal with the Supreme Being. Right. So Kwefie Festival, the Kwefie Festival is also celebrated by the Brekum people, the Brekum people, Nsotre people, Doma and Hikro people, all in the Brona Hafo. I don't know whether they are in the Ahafo region now, because the Brona Hafo is not divided into two. So I don't know which particular group, which region they now fall under particularly. But then you can refer to that, find out which region the Brekum people now subscribe to, and then the Sutre people, the Doma people, or the Doma Nkro people, which region do they fall under now? So it is also a yearly festival that is celebrated, and it is the festival. The focus is to bring people together. That is the first one. The second one is to establish the people's commitment to their gods and then the ancestors. So you are seeing the God's element and then ancestors element. So superhuman beings is to establish their contact with the superhuman beings. So the gods, that is the deity, the powerful deity of the traditional area, is celebrated. And then the ancestors are also venerated very much. And the second one is that it is done purposely to bring development in the community. So the focus is about mending relationship, bringing development agenda, and ensuring all the people have the dwell with one another in peace. So the festival marks the ushering in of fresh yam by the Omanhene. So the yam, the new yam that have come, will have to be before it is eaten, before it is harvested and then sold or eaten. The festival would take place in order to be able to celebrate and eat that. All right. So without the festival, fresh yam cannot be harvested and eaten, as I have indicated. The gods disallow that practice. You cannot harvest your yam until the festival is celebrated. Okay, let's look at the Homowar festival. Let's go to the Homowar festival. The Homowar festival is a Thanksgiving festival, and it's a Thanksgiving festival to the Supreme Being. And as such, it has a purification element, and then it also has the communion element. So it is celebrated by the Gan people, the chiefs and people of the Gamashi and other Gan traditional communities. They actually celebrate the Homowar. And the Homowar festival it comes between July and August. Every year it falls between July and August. So between July and August, then it is celebrated. But the occasion is preceded by a month ban on drumming and dancing. So if you live on the Gan land, you have to take note of this, that there is always a month-long ban on drumming. Wherever you live, if you are ignorant of this, and probably you are a church, you are ignorant of this, you go in dancing, singing, and playing instruments, you should know that you are doing it to the detriment of your own survival. And so you need to watch, because the sort of people that are sent or who take the law into their own hands to come there and then cause havoc, ransack, steal, and do all sort of evil things, mostly they are not intelligent people. So you need to be careful and know that there are people who take advantage of such practices to steal and to cause harm to others. But I think the law is taking on, but I don't know to what extent we are really addressing some of these perennial issues. Okay. So a fish called chile is used to prepare what is called the kwefie. The kwefie is a meal corn that is prepared with palm oil, which is sprinkled at selected areas to hoot at hunger by the gamanche. So the gamanche is the one who will lead the occasion, sprinkle it, and then they hoot at hunger. The festival celebrates the successes in agriculture, and the purpose is to unite the people of the Ga or the Gan tradition, the people within the Ga traditional communities. So these are some of the things that you need to take note of. So how come this celebration? It is historically is that on the arrival at Ayawaso, through strife, hunger, and deaths, the Gan people settled down to work hard on agriculture. The gods actually atone them with bumper harvest the following year. So they use the occasion of abundance of food to hoot at hunger and then make merry as a form of thanksgiving. The occasion came to be known as the Homowar. Homowar. Okay, Homowar, which is associated with the guns. So these are some of the things or some of the examples that I can expose to you. I cannot give you all there are to all the festivals that there is. So please refer to the documents that I have shared with you already that you have access to, and then make use, try to understand the people. Any festival you try to participate in, try to understand some of these elements, and it will help you to appreciate the people, and it will also help you to understand the focus of the traditional folks and how they display their cultural beliefs. And these beliefs, as I've discussed, they are based on 5 fundamental themes: believe in the supreme being, believe in the deities, believe in the ancestors, believe in spirit, and the practice of magic and medicine. You see all of these on display during festivities in traditional African societies. Thank you very much, and same time we will probably next week we'll delve into other areas of understanding. Thank you for sharing with me. Bye bye.